So today is May 28th. I woke up, it's about 8:27, and I decided to go on a little adventure. So today we're actually going to be driving about 2 hours south of Phoenix. We're going to go visit the Pima Air and Space Museum and see what it's all about. All right guys, so we're about halfway to Tucson. We have about an hour to go. We're actually driving by Picacho Peak, which is a little like nature area. It's a pretty nice hiking area. A lot of people that go up there tell me it's about an all-day hike. You can climb up all the way to the top of the mountain. And then right after Picacho Peak, we have Marana Air Park or Pinal Air Park, where they store a lot of the old airlines. So we may even stop there and see what is going on and what we can catch. This is where airplanes come to die, in a sense, or be reused. You can actually look at some of the planes we're looking at. This is where they store a lot of the Southwest planes, you can see. But a lot of the American Eagle Embraer 145 fleet is actually stored here. I think a lot of them were retired during COVID, and now they're just sitting there. They're perfectly preserved. They could be brought back and be flown within literally a couple of days. And up next, you're going to actually see one of the A330s. That's actually insulated here, so probably for storage, but this is what Pinal Air Park is. They store a lot of the planes. There's actually a reclamation area where they will either repaint them, redo them, and get them operational, or just practically scrap them. But the sheer amount of aviation that's here is pretty crazy. And we have made it to the Pima Air and Space Museum. So the museum has a very extensive collection of airplanes, just looking from it. It's kind of outside, so you can feel the heat. So over here is the F-14. These planes were actually used by both the US and the Iranian Air Force. When the whole revolution happened, a lot of these still remained in service. Upon its retiring, a lot of the F-14s were scrapped to avoid the Iranians from getting spare parts. Crazy seeing this thing. I realize how large they are until you look at them in person. I am 6'3", almost 6'4", and it legitimately dwarfs me. I can literally walk underneath these wings. So this little plane that we're looking at is called an Ekranoplan. The Soviet Union actually developed a bunch of these, or developed one of them in the 70s and 80s, and it uses a cushion of air to fly over the waters. We have a little seaplane here. Look how large this thing is. So far this museum is actually kind of cool, to be honest. So here we have the SR-71 Blackbird. This was the fastest plane, actually still the fastest plane that we know of in the world. It was actually created as a, as a reconnaissance vessel, or a reconnaissance plane that flew over the Soviet Union. It's crazy seeing how large this thing is. And then what is this thing? I don't even know what this thing is, but it looks pretty cool. The F-107. I think, is this called a Starfighter? I think it's called a Starfighter. We are underneath the SR-71, and this is a pretty big plane. I didn't realize how big it is. It's actually one of the fastest planes in the world. I think if you watch the movie Transformers, this scene with the SR-71 was filmed here. It's crazy seeing this thing. They say when this thing was actually sitting on the tarmac, it actually would be leaking fuel because it would expand. So this is the plane that everybody likes. It is a plane built around a gun. It's an A-10. This is actually used for ground support. I think Davis-Monthan Air Force Base down the road has an entire collection of these that fly. But this is used for ground support, like basically anti-tank. The US actually feared that back in the day the Soviets would overrun Europe with tanks, so they designed the plane around this gigantic gun that makes the bird noise, or just a big noise. But this is actually the size of the gun, I believe, in comparison to it. And this is actually designed to destroy columns of enemy armor. These things are actually pretty dependable. It's comparable to the Russian Su-25. It can take a lot of punishment and still keep flying. There's actually instances of it coming back with half of a wing missing and still flying around. The museum does have a lot of variety. We're actually going to be headed outside to see what treasures await us over there. So follow me as we go outside and see what crafts we could see. So the plane we are walking underneath is a Boeing 777. It actually served for Cathay Pacific, and I think it is a number 2 model built. So we are actually going to be walking right underneath a Boeing 747 that is the GE Propulsion Lab. So hopefully the audio is good because my Bluetooth stuff ran out of power. But I'm currently walking underneath the 747. This is the 747-100 used by General Electric to test some of their technology for propulsions. And it's crazy. This plane is a legend. I'm a big 747 fan, so let's take a look at the front of the engines. The current plane that we are actually looking at is the Orbis Eye Hospital. It flew all over the world and provided vision care services to various people. So right underneath the Orbis, or actually straight ahead from the Orbis, we have their newest addition, which is Sophia. It's a Boeing 747 SP that was actually landed here a few months ago. This is actually a NASA research lab. There's actually a telescope back there. So it's kind of nice seeing this thing get a new lease on life. So right now we're in the continuation of the World War II area, where we have a Curtiss behind me. Don't realize how large these planes are until you're right underneath them. And it's just the sheer size of it is insane. And then right over here we have a B-29. This was the same type of plane that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, bringing the end to the war. The videos don't do it justice. I saw one flying model, the Dock, that came to Deer Valley last year, and it was pretty cool seeing history flying. So can you imagine being the tail gunner or the turret gunner in here? And this is how they used to sit right in there, and they would be stuck. They would be lowered, and then they had their defenses, which would be right up here. So their defenses consisted of the side gunners and then the poor chap here. And this is actually the legendary Spitfire. This is the plane that defended Britain during the Battle of Britain. These fought off the Luftwaffe and gave them one of their first major losses. This is what the inside of the plane must have been like during World War II. Just crazy. You can't ask for plane snacks here. So the plane we are looking at is a Boeing 787 Dreamliner. I believe this is the second model ever built. It was a prototype. And this plane is actually pretty interesting. It uses carbon fiber as its main source of basically development. And it's kind of considered an international plane because most of the parts are manufactured all over the world. It's a pretty impressive plane looking at it, and just pretty cool seeing something new at this museum. So as you have seen, this museum does have a wide collection of variety. You have military, passengers, different eras, and some experimental crafts. So while you guys are at it, when you're visiting the Pima Air and Space Museum, why not stop by Mt.Lemmon? Mt.Lemmon is a very beautiful area. It's a nice scenic drive. As you gain elevation, you change the different types of plants you can see, and you can truly make a beautiful day out of this. See some aviation, see some nature, and I would like to thank all of you guys that have joined and watched this video. Until next time, friends, see ya.